Listen, there's a specific kind of fear that hits differently than all the others. It's not the jump scare, not the sudden noise in the dark. It's the slow-burning realization that the same pair of footsteps has been echoing yours for the last 4 blocks. That the same silhouette you saw 3 streets back just turned the same corner you did. Your gut tightens, your neck tingles. And here's the question that floods your mind. Are you being paranoid or are you being hunted? Here's what nobody tells you. That polite little voice in your head, the one that says, don't be rude, don't make a scene, you're probably just overthinking this, that voice will get you killed. Not metaphorically, not as a dramatic way of making a point. Literally killed or robbed or followed home because you chose social comfort over personal safety at the exact moment it mattered most. Every person who ever got taken by surprise had warning signs they talked themselves out of. The gut almost always knows before the brain is willing to admit it. Your job is to stop letting politeness overrule instinct, and the way you do that is by replacing the internal debate with concrete, repeatable tests. I'm going to give you 3 tests that silence that voice with actual data in under 5 minutes. One uses geometry that followers can't escape. One exploits the psychology they can't fake, and the third forces them to reveal exactly who they are. Master these, and there's a 4th move that flips you from prey to predator, but only if you've got someone positioned and ready. We'll get there. Before we get into the tests themselves, one thing needs to be clear. These aren't panic moves. They don't require you to run, confront anyone, or do anything that looks unusual to the people around you. They're observation tools, designed to generate data while you keep moving normally. The follower never knows they're being tested. That invisibility is the entire point. First, understand what you're actually testing for. When someone follows you, they're managing distance. Too close, you spot them. Too far, they lose you. They need that sweet spot where they can track you while blending into the environment. The problem is, maintaining that position requires them to react to everything you do. Every turn you make, they have to make. Every change in pace, they have to match. Every stop, they have to account for without walking straight into you, or falling so far back they lose sight of you entirely. That constant reactive adjustment, that's the signal. Test 1. The 4-turn box. Nobody on Earth legitimately needs to make 4 consecutive right turns. If you're going somewhere real, your route might curve or zigzag, but it won't loop back on itself in a perfect square. That's not navigation. That's a diagnostic. At the next intersection, turn right. Don't speed up. Don't slow down. Don't glance back over your shoulder. Walk like you've made this trip 100 times before. Count 30 seconds, roughly half a block at normal pace. Then take the next right. Same energy, same stride. Another 30 seconds, another right. One more. 4 total. You're back on the same street where you started, heading the same direction. If the person behind you was going somewhere real, they're gone. They continued on their actual route while you made your square. Think about that for a second. No innocent person in the history of human movement has ever needed to trace a perfect block-sized loop for any legitimate reason. It's geometrically impossible to justify. But if that same jacket, that same walk, that same person is still in your peripheral vision, they just told you something critical. Their destination isn't a place, it's you. Your stomach drops as that same figure appears again in the exact spot it shouldn't be. And here's the crucial advantage you just gained. They don't know that you know. You haven't looked at them directly, haven't changed pace, haven't given any signal that you've noticed anything at all. That gap, confirmed knowledge they don't know you possess, is your weapon. Protect it carefully because once you burn it, you can't get it back. Test 2. The sudden stop. Test 1 told you they're there. Test 2 tells you how committed and how dangerous they are. You're walking at normal pace, then, without warning, you stop, completely. Don't drift to a halt. Plant your feet like you just remembered something important. Pull out your phone, kneel to tie your shoe, pause in front of a shop window. The specific action doesn't matter. What matters is that whoever's behind you is now closing distance they didn't plan to close. If they keep their pace, they enter your immediate space and blow their cover. They have no comfortable option. They have to react. Watch what happens in your peripheral vision without turning around. A normal person walks right past. Maybe they glance at you for half a second, the way people do when someone stops unexpectedly, then keep moving without a second thought because they have somewhere actual to be. But a follower, they'll either stop abruptly and suddenly become deeply fascinated with a storefront or their phone, or they'll veer off, crossing the street or ducking into a doorway to avoid passing you directly. Both reactions communicate the same thing. They can't afford to lose you, which means they can't afford to just walk past and keep going. Normal people walk past. Predators have to manage you. Do this twice, in 2 different locations with 2 different actions. Stop to check your phone, walk 2 blocks, stop to tie your shoe. If you get adaptive behavior both times, 2 separate adjustments, 2 moments where their movement responds to yours rather than to any destination of their own, you've moved from suspicion to certainty. Your neck goes cold as they adjust for the second time. That's not coincidence, that's a pattern, and patterns are proof. Test 3. The mirror trap. Knowing you're followed isn't enough. You need to know who's following you, what they look like, how many, and whether they have training. Find a reflective surface, storefront window, parked car with clean glass, bus stop panel, anything that gives you a clear view of the space behind you without turning around. As you pass one, slow slightly and angle your body so the reflection shows what's behind you. You look like you're checking your hair or glancing at a shop window. Nobody flags it. It's invisible behavior. What you're actually doing is cataloging height, build, clothing color and cut, the way they carry their weight when they walk, backpack, hat, facial hair, any distinguishing feature you can lock down and hold. Do it fast and do it clean, because if this escalates, you need to describe exactly who you're dealing with, to law enforcement, to your group, to anyone who needs to act on that information. And here's where it gets telling. If they're trained, they'll turn their face away or angle their body to break their profile at the exact moment you hit that reflective surface. That deliberate avoidance confirms this isn't random. Someone prepared for this encounter specifically. And if they actively avoid the reflection, assume there's at least a second person you haven't identified yet. Professionals work in teams. The one you can see is rarely the only one. You've run 3 tests in under 5 minutes. Same person made 4 turns with you, stopped or adjusted when you stopped, either appeared in your reflection or deliberately avoided it. You're not wondering anymore. You're not having that internal debate. You know. And knowing changes everything about what comes next. It transforms a vague threat into a confirmed one, and a confirmed threat can be addressed with a plan instead of a panic. Breaking the follow. First rule, absolute and non-negotiable. Do not go anywhere you care about. Not home, not your cache, not your supply location, not your rally point. The entire purpose of following someone is discovering where they go and what they have access to. You are the thread that leads to the prize. Lead them to it, and you've handed it over with no effort required on their part. Instead, you break the follow without revealing what you know and without showing any urgency that tips your hand. In urban environments, move toward places that disrupt line of sight and create cover through crowd density. Subway stations, busy markets, food courts during rush hour. Anywhere with multiple exits and enough volume of people that tracking one specific person becomes genuinely difficult. Enter. Move through the crowd deliberately. Exit from a different direction than you came in. Use the crowd as a tool. Or find buildings with multiple exits. Enter the front, leave through a back or side exit, then circle around and watch the entrance from a safe distance. If they emerge looking confused and scanning in multiple directions, you've broken the tail. If they don't come out at all, they're either waiting inside or they've called for backup. Either way, you now have tactical information you didn't have before. Use it before they regroup. If you're on a quiet trail at dusk with no crowds and no buildings, you use terrain, that blind corner created by a hillside or dense brush up ahead. Walk around it, then stop just past it and wait silently. If they're following, they'll come around that bend expecting you farther ahead. Suddenly, you're much closer than they calculated. A normal hiker nods and keeps walking. A follower hesitates, retreats, or adjusts in a way that reads completely wrong for someone just out for a hike. Natural choke points work the same way. A narrow bridge, a gate, single-file trail sections. Pass through, position yourself where you can observe from cover and watch whether they commit to following when there's no legitimate reason to be on this remote path. Why verification matters. 3 years ago, a guy I know was doing a supply run 2 weeks after a regional grid went down. He'd been careful. Different stores, low quantities, nothing that flagged him as a serious prepper. But he didn't run these tests. He felt someone watching him load his truck, got that familiar prickle of unease, and talked himself out of it. Told himself he was being paranoid. Drove straight to his storage unit. 2 men followed him, waited until he was inside and occupied with unloading, then they were on him. He lost 4 months of food, his vehicle, and 3 teeth, all because he felt something and didn't verify it. The gut was right. The polite little voice won anyway. That's a price nobody should ever have to pay. If you can't shake them, if the environment offers no options, or you're with someone who can't move quickly, you're making a decision about confrontation. If you're positioned to control the interaction, direct address works. Stop. Turn. Make eye contact. You've been behind me for a while. Can I help you with something? Not an accusation, an offer of help, delivered with tone and posture that communicates something else entirely. Most opportunistic followers abort here because their primary advantage, surprise, is gone, and they have nothing left to work with. If you're not positioned safely, your priority is witnesses and distance. Move toward other people, toward anywhere that makes their job significantly harder. Understand this, surveillance isn't always prelude to immediate violence. Sometimes it's pure reconnaissance. They're mapping your patterns, where you source water, when you leave shelter, whether you travel alone and appear unarmed. They're building a profile for a later operation. Breaking the follow early disrupts that entire intelligence cycle and marks you as a hard target, someone who notices and responds. Hard targets consistently get passed over. Teach this to your people, your family, your group, anyone who moves independently when systems fail, especially children, because they're conditioned to defer, to not cause scenes, to trust adults unconditionally. Override that with something concrete and testable. The 4 turns, the sudden stop, the reflective surface check. Teach them that running these tests when something feels wrong isn't rude, it's the only responsible thing to do, and practice it with them until it stops feeling like a drill and starts feeling like second nature. The 4th protocol, static post. Here's the advanced move for those who've made the first 3 automatic. It's called the static post, and it flips the entire dynamic on the people following you. After confirming a tail, you don't immediately try to lose them. You lead them past the position where a trusted person is already waiting and observing. Your partner, your group member, someone coordinated with you in advance using prearranged signals. You walk past them. The follower walks past them. Now you've got a counter-observer the follower has no idea exists. That person can run a counter-follow, identify whether there's a team, note vehicles or radio equipment, and gather intelligence you cannot collect while being actively tracked yourself. You've moved from reactive to proactive, from hunted to actively hunting. Picture this. Prolonged blackout. You've just retrieved medicine from a supply cache, and the 4-turn box confirmed the tail. Your partner is staged 2 blocks ahead at a coffee shop with street-facing windows. You walk past, make brief eye contact, touch your hat brim, prearranged signal. You keep moving without breaking stride. The follower passes your partner. Your partner now has eyes on them, sees them key a radio, watches a second person emerge from a side alley to join the follow. 2-person team with comms. Your partner sends description and direction via a quick text back. Now you adapt. You split up. Your partner draws 1 follower off while you lose the other in a crowded market 2 streets over. Or both of you extract in opposite directions and rally at a pre-designated point. Either way, you've turned their surveillance operation inside out using nothing but positioning and coordination. The static post only works if you've built it before you need it. Signals established well in advance. Your people trained to observe without appearing to observe. But when it works, it doesn't just break the follow. It produces real intelligence about who operates in your area and what resources they're running. That intelligence is worth far more than a single clean evasion. Smoothness over speed. Speed matters less than smoothness. The moment you look panicked is the moment you confirm you're worth pursuing. Panic signals resources. Fear signals vulnerability. Even if your heart is hammering, your external presentation needs to look like someone just going about their day. That's harder than it sounds. That requires deliberate practice under low-stakes conditions. Run the 4-turn box on a random Tuesday when nothing is at risk. Practice sudden stops on your lunch break. Use reflective surfaces habitually until the behavior becomes automatic. Build the muscle memory so that when you need it under real stress, your body handles the mechanics and your mind stays focused on reading the environment and making decisions. The goal isn't to be robotic. The goal is to be smooth. Smooth reads as normal. Normal is invisible. And invisible means you keep every advantage you've built. Because when systems collapse, chaos becomes predatory. Desperation creates hunters from people who weren't before. The rules that kept those instincts in check disappear along with everything else. The people who survive aren't always the most armed or the most supplied. They're the ones who see threats developing early and act before those threats close the distance to where options disappear entirely. You don't need to be paranoid. You just need to be verified. When that neck prickle hits, don't dismiss it and don't spiral into anxiety about it. Run the test. Turn suspicion into data. Turn data into decision. 4 right turns, sudden stop, mirror check, less than 5 minutes. That's not paranoia. That's verification. That's the difference between reacting to a threat that's already on top of you and having 4 steps of separation to work with. The world doesn't reward the paranoid. It rewards the verified.